We've said from day one we didn't want to fill up the podcast with adverts, and we're not about to do that. However, podcasts do cost money to make, and thanks to our friends at Viking Covers, we're able to cover some of those. Their values are the same as ours, they're car enthusiasts, and they've got a real quality product we think you might be interested in. If you're looking for indoor or outdoor car covers for your vehicle, please go check them out at vikingcovers.co.uk. Now, over to the show.
Welcome to my dad's car. Enjoy!
Welcome to My Dad's Car, a podcast discussing our personal relationship with automotive nostalgia. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be about your dad's car. It can be your mum's, your grand's, your parents', guardians, or even a neighbour's. If it made an impression, let's talk about it. Are we there? Can you hear us?
Hello?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I feel like I should be wearing a hat. I've missed a boat here. I've got one to hand. The wife's usually got one knocking around. But...
Oh, I've always got a cowboy hat on all the time.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us, Grant. It was Dom, wasn't it? I think he put us in touch.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I know a man you should speak to," and which was very kind of him. And here we are.
Great.
So, for the benefit of the tape, we're joined by Grant Williams. I believe you got something to do with Mk2 Jaguars and racing, but do you want to give us a little bit more of an insight before we dive right in?
Right. Okay. Well, basically, I've been racing Mark 1s and Mark 2s since I was sort of 17, 18. Youngest ever to win the Jaguar Championship in my father's Mark 2 at the time, which was 17, 18.
Okay.
And then went on to Revival. And then, I suppose Revival was the one race started me on my path, my career of racing classic stunt cars. So, yeah, Revival at Goodwood, that was the main thing. But basically, racing Jaguars at Revival is my main thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. And have you got a day job, or are you racing as a job?
I have got a day job. I've got a small little garage in South Wales. Barely pays the bills. It's a tiny little petrol station, and we do servicing, tires, clutches, that kind of thing. But literally, it just barely pays. And at the moment, it's sort of turned into working on my own racing car garage. So the ramps are full of my racing cars, and all I'm doing is working on customers' cars, like on the floor outside, because they're just full of my race cars. And we've just been very fortunate to get back one of my father's second ever race cars, which is a very, very special car. So yeah.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll hear a bit more about him. Is your father still around, or?
Oh yeah, Dad's still around. Yeah, he's 78 now. He's still involved. He comes in and shouts at me now and again when I've done it wrong, or I should be doing it this way and stuff like that. But he's still about. He's slowed down a lot over a few years now. But yeah, he'll still come to the garage. He'll come and chat to me. I see him every day, basically. Yeah.
Fantastic. What's your earliest car memory, Grant?
Oh God. I would say. I would say one of my father's races is racing at Mallory Park, actually.
Okay.
If you know Mallory, there's like a little pond in the middle of Mallory. So I remember as a little kid, Dad sort of racing. I remember playing with my sort of Hot Wheels at the time, Matchbox, and I kept throwing them into the pond. My father screamed at me because he basically saying they're not coming back. I'm not going to get them. But I would say, I think that's the earliest memory of my father's race cars. Like it would have been at the time one of his red Mark 1s.
Okay, super. What sort of era are we talking?
Oh God, this is going back. This would be 79, something like that. 79,
okay.
79 to 80.
Wonderful. And was that a family trip away? Were you traveling with, I guess, your mum or your brothers or sisters or something?
Mum, dad, my brother, younger brother, but my father's raced all his life. So this is my grandfather as well. My whole family is racing drivers.
Okay.
Uncles. It is literally a racing family. And I was dragged every race circuit around the country, and then we emigrated to Canada. So I was dragged around Canada, racing all around Canada with the lightweight. And John, they're amazing memories. Those memories I got are just fantastic. Like, because I used to go with my father. When he was racing back in the 90s, I would sort of go with Dad in the Mark II. He'd pull the back seat of the race car, and then I'd be sleeping in the paddock on the back seat on the floor, in the day, and then I'd go watch my father race. And I used to stand in the grandstands. He'd be so proud to see my father. He was a winner. He was always the front. so proud to see that's my dad going past. That's my dad. That's my dad, like Silverstone, Darlington. Yeah, so yeah, they're great memories.
Fantastic. So, say a weekend away at a racetrack, was there a tow truck or whatever which you'd all sort of jump in and the Jags on the trailer, or?
In the early days, Dad used to tow with an old V8 Range Rover, two-door red one. I remember that very well. Trailer was made themselves. And then towards the 90s, we sort of used to go racing with an old Escort 1.6 diesel ex-post office Mark III van, okay? So Dad would tow the racing car behind the van on an A-frame, bolt to the front chassis, dragging the front wheels wherever they went. You know, up the hills, it was 30 mile an hour if he was lucky, like, I mean. So, and then towards later on, I was like 16, we used to get so stressed out trying to go to somebody's circuit, be up the hills, something was that slow. He would chuck me in the car and he'd signal the window, fire it up, and I'd fire the racing car up then, chuck it into fourth gear, and then we'd run 110 mile up the hill then, push the whole van up the hill like a 16 years old, like, I mean. So, yeah, that was kind of cool back in those days, like, I mean. And I would just go to sleep in the car, tucked down behind the seat, because it would steer itself. So, yeah.
How did your dad get into motorsport, Grant?
Through my grandfather. Granddad started racing in the early 50s, Mark 1s. He was racing with his friends.
Okay.
Granddad just turned up at a race circuit, right? There'd be three of them racing, okay? And they'd only have one race license. So they'd sign on with this one race license and with one car. So every time the next race would come in or next practice, they were drum brakes at the time. So they used to keep buckets of water to throw onto the wheels to cool the brakes off because they'd overheat, ready for the next guy to go out in the car on the same race license. And that's how he got it done. My father's just followed in his footsteps.
Nice.
What was the association with Jaguar? Was one of them working for Jaguar, or?
No. Granddad just loved Mark 1s and Mark 2s. And then we got to be known as the Jag Garage in Risca, a small village in South Wales. And every day, all the race cars, we pulled out of the garage because it was a forecourt petrol station. We'd park the cars on the front of the forecourt. So we'd be 4 race cars at the time. My father's, both my uncles, and my granddad's race cars.
Oh, wow.
Would be parked at the front, and they were all red, Risca red, we used to call it. And then Granddad went and bought Buy one off the factory when he'd seen it for sale in the Autosport magazine. And then he bought it because he beat him a few times in the touring car championship because he'd had disc brakes.
Okay.
And he wanted a car with disc brake. That was like cutting edge.
Right.
And so, yeah, and it was up for sale for £1,650 in 1962, which is a lot of money like back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a house in South Wales was £200. He could have bought a street for the price of the car.
That's marvelous, isn't it? Really good. So yeah, I guess holidays were probably to race circuits. You weren't going sort of down to the West Country or sort of to France or anything. It was like, okay, we're doing a holiday, but Dad's going racing.
Oh yeah. It was. That was, I said, our whole life just racing. I mean, and all the way through my career racing, that's all we do. We just focus on that. My whole life is all about going motor racing, building the cars, and everything else in between is just a distraction.
Do you have kids of your own, Grant? Will the legacy continue?
Yeah. I've got a 16-year-old boy now, son. I got a 7-year-old daughter. My daughter said she wanted to do it, but it's now boys and stuff like that. But my son is really keen to go racing. He really wants to do it. And we're not from a rich family or anything. We live from week to week, like.
Yeah.
And I didn't get any racing until literally Dad said, "Do you want to go racing?" I was 17 at the time. Trotted off to Silverstone, got my race license. Patrick Watts actually done my my arts test, my racing license.
Oh, cool.
So that was really cool. And my exact words were, "Look, son, I'll put you in the car. If you're quick, we'll fund a bit of racing for a couple of years. I'll sort of pay it." Because back then a race was £150. I got 3 races for £150. And he said, "But if you're good, we'll keep doing it." And exact words, "If you're crap or rubbish, then we're done." Because I'm not paying for you to make the numbers up. Like it means. And I think my first race, I was on pole. And I finished 3rd overall. And they were 45 car grids.
Wow. It's in the blood.
It's in the blood, yeah. And literally on the next race, I won the championship the first year. I won every race afterwards.
What was on the grid, Grant? Was it an all Jag race or all sorts?
All Jags.
Okay.
Mark 1s, Mark 2s. It'll be S-types.
Yeah.
Mark 9s, Mark 7s. I mean, these were all veteran races, man. This grid was full. It was a Bridgestone Challenge. The Jaguar Challenge was a massive championship of the day. Even Blue Peter, they got one of their presenters to race one of their, got a car and they raced in that race. One of their races, like, so it was kind of cool against my father.
And those cars, I guess, at the time, they were out of production at very least. Were they considered classic, or were they sort of a cheap? I don't want to use the word bang, and that's very sort of offensive. But were they sort of just as if someone went out today and bought a Mondeo to kind of get?
No, they were classics. They were classic cars.
Okay.
Yeah, they were classic cars. Parts were more available back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. They were more available then.
Yeah.
But it was cheap racing. You could buy a Mark II Jaguar, for like 500 quid. cost you £1,000 time you put a roll cage and bits and pieces in, and you're on the track for like £2.5 grand. Like, I mean, so
Yeah.
and they were 3.8, so they were good power, 200 odd brake horse. So yeah, and most of them came with limited slip diffs, so it was cheap racing.
London getaway driver's car of choice, wasn't it, in the 60s and 70s?
Oh yeah, 100% gangsters cars. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dad's got so many memories of him racing through the streets of Risco with straight race suit pipes and stuff like that on, and they were just getaway cars. Like, I mean, everywhere he drove, he was under mile up, flat out everywhere.
Was there any sort of testing on the roads around South Wales?
Oh God, of course, yeah.
Unofficially, obviously.
Unofficially, like we still do it now. You know, when I pull the car to the shed, or if I'm working on the car, Tess is quickly jumping the car down the bypass, 140 mile an hour.
Kilometers an hour, officer. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely kilometers. And then put it back in. Yeah, it's all good. Brakes are working fine. Ready to go. Like, I mean, so that's a test. Like, because we couldn't afford to go spend a test session, or it's just too much money for what we do. And I'm one of these things that don't need to take life out of the car, take life out of the engine or the brakes or anything like that. So
I think the only word I know in Welsh is araf,
but sadly, I don't speak Welsh.
which is written on all the roads. I believe it means slow.
Yes, it's 20 mile an hour limit's a killer for us.
So traveling around, any memories of music in the Range Rover, or
Do you know what? One of my first ever memories of a song my father played a lot was Michael Jackson, Thriller.
Okay, yeah.
I remember Dad in Canada at the time had an MG, and it was a tape playing, and I remember as a kid, I remember just listening. He was playing Thriller, Michael Jackson.
Nice.
But my father was always in Northern Soul, Motown, and I love Motown as well. So it's Motown, Northern Soul, Last Night the Pips. I mean, I grew up with all that kind of stuff because he always had music played in the background. I mean, so yeah, but love Motown.
You mentioned Canada again. Did he take his race cars out there, or he got something else while he was out there and came back for Jags? Or
no, he basically took the lightweight. So he emigrated to Canada. I think I was about 6 at the time, something like that, about 6. And we emigrated to Canada, Burlington, Ontario, Toronto. And he set a garage up, only working on British Leyland cars. Anything British he'd work on. And he was quite busy, done really, really well. So he started that off, and the lightweight was it was a Mk2 Jaguar that he totally cut all the wings, everything off it, all fiberglass, wide arches, moved the engine back 1.5 foot in the engine bay at a 4.2 straight 6. It only weighed 900 kilos. It had 19J rear wide slicks off an old F1.
wow.
And they were like 16J front ones. So this had loads and loads of mechanical grip. It was a monster. And again, he used to keep it on the freeway because there's a freeway in front of the garage, and he parked the Jag on a mound on top of the freeway with a big sign on the top saying, working on British Leyland cars. And it was a good advertising point because the freeway would get so much attention, and the off ramp was just by there. And he was very, very busy. Yeah.
Were there many British cars in Canada at the time, Grant?
Oh yeah. MG, Jags, E-types, XJs, Leyland stuff. Like, I mean, so yeah, he was always constantly working on the brand. He done really, really well out of it, actually. It was the only reason we was coming back is because my granddad was getting on, and he wanted my father to run the business.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason we sort of came back from Canada, because we made a life out there. We was out there 8-9 years. Came back when I was sort of my early teens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get fond memories. Boiling hot summers, freezing cold winters. He'd walk out one door in the morning, and he would have 7-8 feet of snow. You couldn't see the street. You'd have to climb up the bedroom window, dig yourself out of the street then. I mean, so,
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask whether it was your grandfather who started the business, and I guess that's the business you now run, is it?
No. So my uncle still run the business.
Okay.
Yeah, so granddad's, and it was 2 petrol pumps on a piece of ground right next to the main road in Risca, and that's what it was, a little shed. It started from 2 little petrol pumps they put in, and a shed, and it grew from there. And then granddad was always a crazy flat out driver as well, like, I mean, so, and that's when he started doing the racing side of it. And then the garage got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we got to know the factory really, really well. We started, because we was known as the Jaguar, we started maintaining people's customers' E-types. It was extra Damon, anything Jaguar we started maintaining. And then we got the Lofty to the factory. I didn't, but Dad did with my grandfather. And he'd buy spare parts and stuff out of the factory. It was kind of cool. Dad tell the stories about where because the wages were a bit lower back in those days. When Granddad would turn up at the factory, he would turn up in an old 90 Land Rover with a trailer, and he would drive in, and then all the factory workers would come out the back, especially the competition department. They come up, Tony, we got heads, wings, lights, seats, and it was cash. Grand was paying for, and basically it was their way of pocket money or making their wages up. Like I mean, and Lofty knew it went on. He did know it went on. Like I mean, so but he didn't. He just turned a blind eye to it because basically it was a case of, he can't stop it, so let it carry on. And Lofty got this. And Grand would tell me, go, oh, how much is this going to cost me this week? He turned up here because he basically stealing the parts. Like I mean, and they would give it to my granddad. Like I mean, and he went out the door, but it was totally fine. It was just one of those things. That's what happened in those days, like back in the early '60s. Like, so yeah, it was a real. I always say I was born in the wrong era, especially the way I drive the cars and the way I race and what I am. Like I mean, yeah. So I think it's a very romantic time. I'd love to be around that back in those days.
Yeah, definitely.
The good old days.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Do you remember kind of neighbours with vehicles, perhaps non-Jaguar, sort of around where you grew up?
No, it was always Jaguars. That's all we ever knew. Like, I mean, it was just literally Jaguars. That's all because I was in the garage all the time. Even, but I said, and everything I knew back in those days, if I was in Canada, it was either British Leyland vehicles or British vehicles. That's all I ever seen. Really, Dad had an old Dodge van. That was the only thing I really knew. I remember the Dodge van. That was kind of cool. But that I remember, quite well. Sleeping in the back of that, we'd go camping off in this old Dodge van. Like, I mean, that was great. But yeah, that's all I really knew about neighbours' cars. There's always Jags.
You remember where your father used to source the Jags, Grant?
A lot of the time it was just through friends. Most of the time it was people that would own the car and they'd had enough at the time, and they would gift. A lot of the cars got gifted to us, like because they just
really,
yeah, because they were end up being rust buckets eventually. I mean, so they were just like, okay, it's coming to the end of life. Your family's looked after for years or whatever. You can have the car. It was just to people to be new, like basically.
Yeah. I remember hearing from my brother a story about a Jag disappearing, and
yeah, they always disappear and then reappear somewhere down the road. Yeah.
Interesting. So obviously, you mentioned the Range Rover. You mentioned obviously the Escort van as well. Was there a family car? Maybe did your mother drive or?
Yeah, Mum drive. Mum used to have a green Morris Marina Estate.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so that was Mum's car. It was Morris Marina Estate, and then Dad, we had a Datsun Sunny Estate, big old thing, 2.8.
Okay.
Because I always remember the back quarter window would come down with a key, and you could open the back window. It was a massive 7-seater. I always remember that. I think 2.8 petrol. That was a bit of a cool car, silver. But the vans were, that was our main. We always bought. I don't know, for some reason, we always bought these ex-post office vans because they were cheap.
Yeah.
And my first car was that 1.6 S-Club diesel van with XR3i wheels, then RS turbo wheels. XR3i front seats, front splitter, skirts. That was a cool, van. I love that van. I was forever welding the chassis up. I would drive it so hard. I would literally split the chassis on it. In the end, I was welding bars. I needed to strengthen the chassis up. I'd race it everywhere. We were just flat up. In the 90s, you were racing around against kids with RS turbos, and I was in this 56 brake horse diesel van beating an RS turbo and XR3i because I could out drive them. Like I mean, so yeah.
I'm guessing your father probably taught you to drive at a young age. What age were you at when you sort of knew what to do?
So I've always had motocross. So I've always grown up with, CR80s, ATVs, because of Canada and stuff like that. So we always had motorbikes. So I learned at an early age how to ride and control bikes and stuff like that. And then when we moved back from Canada, we had a house in Risca next to the petrol station, right next to the petrol station, with a bit of land on the back. My auntie bought this bit of land. So I just learned to drive around the back because there's a bit of land. I could just, we had an old Nissan Patrol. I started driving that around the back. I mean, and then I would sort of drive the cars. It was like only like an acre and a half. That's all it was, like an acre, 2 acres maybe. So I would just drive around there. So that's why I learned to drive on this bit of ground at the back.
What sort of age would that be? I guess sort of mid-teens?
Yeah. I was 12, 13, something like that. And that was kind of cool. So I just learned the gear shift, clutch control and stuff like that. And then, just after I said, we just passed my test when I was 7. I took 3 attempts to pass my test. 3 attempts. And the only reason I passed my test is because the first guy who failed me was my test instructor on the 3rd time. And he remembered me. And I failed on the questions every time. My driving was perfect. I mean, he goes, right, okay. And he was asking the questions, and I was getting wrong. And he was sort of going, like, not into the right answer. That's the only reason I passed is because he remembered that I failed on the first 2. So, yeah, so that was kind of cool. Like, my driving was perfect every time. So, yeah.
That's the bit that matters.
Yeah, definitely the bit that matters, yes.
Better to have it that way around than the other.
Yeah, the other way around, yeah.
Oh, he was great at the questions. You can't do braking and steering.
Couple of crashes, yeah.
No.
Yeah, obviously it is Jaguar. I was going to ask, kind of, is there a vehicle from sort of your childhood that you sort of pine after? But it sounds like those vehicles have stayed in the family as well.
Yeah, the one I missed the most was the lightweight. So Dad sold the lightweight late 90s.
In Canada?
No, he sold when we came back, he sold it to, so when we came back, moved back a couple years, he was racing his saloon car, then his Mk2 saloon car. And he didn't do anything with it with the lightweight. He was sat just kicking around, covered in dust. We take it to the odd show now and again. It was a big show in our place called Chiniga Park Show, and we take it down there. And he was just sort of in the shed. And then my uncle, he's like an uncle, Andrew Wilson, Dennis Powers Motors. He bought off my father for £1,000. No engine, just a rolling shell. So then he had two racing V12 Jaguar powerboat engines given to him.
Wow.
So he grafted a V12 into the shell.
Blimey.
Put it all in, but then he never finished it. He just got bored of it. And then he was building an RS 500 at the time. So then he sold it, £1,500, just got rid of it.
Okay.
That's one of those cars I always miss and pined over because the pictures are on the internet about the car because it was painted red, white, and blue, British Leyland colours.
You sent me a couple of pictures of it, I think.
Yeah, it's a fire-breathing monster of a thing. Like, I mean, it looks like a Hot Wheels toy. You know what I mean? It's really, really special car. So yeah, that's one of the real ones I really missed the most because I got a lot of memories with that car and Dad. You know, and yeah, we managed to find it back. Like, I managed to get it back a couple of weeks ago. So yeah.
Is there anything your father potentially wanted but never quite managed to get his hands on?
On the car?
Yeah, sort of car-wise, is there any sort of vehicle that you can think of that he would have really liked to have ticked off? But
you know what? No, he's never been really. Dad's very humble. Dad's one of those people that, you know, he would spend his last penny on me and my racing. I mean, he was never, you know, he lives very frugally. He doesn't spend a lot of money at all. He is, you know, he is my hero. I mean, so, but yeah, he never spent a lot of money on stuff like that. He was just one of those people he was quite happy driving on in a Marina or his car today is an old Citroen C5. I mean, it's battered to hell. I mean, and he don't care. And if he drives any of my vehicles, I guarantee I'm back with a bumper scratch, a wheel scratch, or something like that. And he literally goes, "I don't really give a shit." So I said, okay. I'm like, Dad, I just had him done, like, and he just doesn't care. He does not. He just doesn't care. So he lives a very frugal life. Like, I mean, yeah.
Is he done with racing and things?
No, he's not. He doesn't come very often with my races now. But if I'm doing a 3-day event, he'll try and come up on the last day and watch and support me.
Yeah.
He's involved in the back. He comes to the garage and talks to me and we'll chat about stuff. Like, but most of the race stuff I do myself. Most of the development I do myself now. But, you know, Dad was cutting edge back in the day. There's nothing he can't tell you about a race car but a Mk2 or Mk1 Jag. He just knows all the tricks of the trade.
yeah,
And I've inherited those tricks off in that. And I think that's why one of the reasons I'm so quick in the cars is, I suppose, when you build a car, you understand how the car works, how it creaks and groans, and how everything feels under you. And I think I've got that mechanical sympathy to know when to push and not to push. And Dad's taught me that, how the mechanics of the car works. And if you understand that, I think it enhances your racing skills.
I was just thinking, when you mentioned motocross, obviously there's a lot of kind of throttle control in that, whether that comes from, so obviously being able to sort of power out of a corner on a motocross bike.
Yeah.
And then sort of that's akin to coming out of a corner in a car, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of because I'm always sideways everywhere, it's controlled. Because I could feel the bike sliding, and you had to see the angles when you're on an enduro bike, like. And I think that contributed to how I used to drive back in the 90s. That's what started it all off, basically, because I was riding bikes for so long. I just could feel how the mechanics of the vehicle work underneath my hands, on my feet, or under my ass. I mean, so
yeah.
You know, I do a lot of extreme enduro now. I'm 50 years old, and I'm still, you know, I ride with, you know, 17, 18-year-olds and 20-year-old kids. Like, I mean, and it's kind of funny because they see this old guy tic-tacking a rock face or a riverbed or a side of a mountain. Like, it's like you've got to move 4 feet one way, pivot, turn the bike the other way. And, you know, I get to the top. I've done it before they have, and they get up there and they're hanging. They're sweating. They're dying when they get to the top. And I pull my helmet. I look like Santa Claus and I pull my helmet off. Like, this 50-year-old man get out of there, and they're like, "How old are you?" I said, 50. I said, "How old are you?" I said, I'm 21. I said, and they can't believe it. Like, I mean, so yeah, that's how I keep fit for doing my long endurance racing. So
okay, that's the thing to do. Was your father or your grandfather a smoker?
Oh yeah, grandfather heavy smoker, and my father heavy smoker, and I've hated it. I hated it. My mother's a heavy smoker, because I remember my mother used to send me over to the garage to get her cigarettes, and I would literally pick the packet and I'd carry the packet like this, holding my fingers like this, because I couldn't stand the smell of even the plastic wrapping. I just hated it. and I'd given my mother, and I'd go so my brother's a smoker as well. But yeah, never just I don't know why, I just couldn't stand it.
I can relate to that, Grant. Yeah, because my parents were heavy smokers, and I think you either go that way, don't you? That you detest it, or you probably take it up
Yeah.
yourself. So
Yeah, I did. I tried it once. I think I coughed the guts out of myself, and I was like, "That's not for me.
yeah,
That's not." And do you know, I remember doing it. It was in a storm drain in Canada, in front of the house, because we had those big massive storm drains. We'd all hide the boys, the kids. We'd all hang around there. And one of the kids nicked some fags off his father or something. I think they were Marlboros at the time. I said, "You know what?" They would try it, and he was smoking. He tried it, and I just said, "No, no chance. No, thank you." Dad,
yeah.
that's it. And never seen.
You probably made the good choice there.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember my dad telling me the story how he started. He was at a fair when he was 12 or 13, and he won a single cigarette in one of these games that was there, and that was
yeah.
it.
What, as a child?
Yeah, that was the end of it. Yeah,
That was the end of it. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, because back in the early days, in the 50s, smoking was a normal practice, and that was just
yeah.
yeah. I remember when they
Was it age restricted?
not really back then. I don't think it was. No,
Don't think it could have been.
no.
I mean, if they were given it, well, I mean, I suppose fairs even now, but back then were probably not regulated particularly well.
I remember when they banned the smoking in the clubs back home, because I used to hate going out and coming back and our clothes was stinking of cigarettes.
Yeah,
And I remember that you come back and thinking, oh my god, my clothes are like they don't smell. It's
yeah.
that was a real cool thing to have back in the 90s. Like I mean 2000s.
Definitely.
Different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else we need to ask you. You say obviously you do a lot of Goodwood.
Yeah.
Have you got any goals kind of still to achieve with either the Jags or at Goodwood perhaps? Or
Yeah, so we've got the lightweight back in the family now. So that's back, and we're doing a build. So we're going to rebuild the car. The 2-year project. That's my new passion at the moment. So it's going to have a V12 back in it again. Okay. But it's a 7.4 liter Rob Beer race engine.
Wow.
750 brake horse.
whoa.
So I'm keeping the car. We're painting the car in its original colors, keeping it exactly the same as it was back when Dad was racing it.
Yeah.
With the Leyland stickers at the whole lot. But underneath, I want to go as new as I possibly can. I want to go 8-speed sequential gearbox, all independent rear, all independent front, modern brakes, fully adjustable bump and rebound, front and rear shock absorbers. I want to try and get down about 800 kilos.
Blimey.
Still run the same size wheels and tires.
Yeah.
This thing I want to be a fire-breathing monster. I mean, it's going to sound like an F1 car. So I've already got the exhaust system. We've worked out what's going to sound like. You've seen the TWR XJS that they've relaunched, the new one?
Yeah.
That's what this will sound like, that, because that's virtually the same sort of engine, but it's always got more power.
Wow.
So that's my new sort of goal and focus. And I want to race it in mod sports, Thunder Saloons.
I was going to say, will anyone take you?
Yeah, I hope so. We'll have to make the car obviously noise compliant, but most times we'll try and do it with noise-free races and stuff like that. But it'll be demo car, festival speed car, because it's such an iconic, and it's a one of one. And when I launched it, put it on Facebook, I found the car and Instagram, and a response I've had, it was like unbelievable. People like, I've got a few friends like Tom Lenthal. He's a YouTuber. He races Jags. And I put a post on the Thursday night. Friday morning, he said, Grant, you've got a unicorn there. That's the one that's going to put you on the map of building cars, because it looks so unique. It appeals to the kids as well as it appeals to the older generation.
Yeah.
So I'm learning. I'm doing a full YouTube documentary build on it from start to finish.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So buying the car, going to see the car, how I found the car.
Brilliant.
It's only been back in the family like 3 or 4 weeks, and I've already been like filming stuff and trying to find people to help me edit and put it on and do it. All the kind of stuff is what I've been trying to focus on. But that car's going to be a massive passion project for me to do.
Will you be able to do all the sort of mechanics, Grant, in-house?
Most of it, yeah. Most of it is. So my uncle, Andrew Wilson, he's helped me get the car back. So I'm going to build it in his place.
Oh, cool.
Because he always regrets it going out of the family as well. So me and Andrew are going to build it together at his place in Dennis Powers, Andrew Wilson Motors. He's already ordered a jig, flat plate table jig, so the car can go on that, and it's like laser line, so there'll be laser on it, so we can put the shell on there and then sort of laser point where we want to put the suspension component points, stuff like that. And then we're making it all from scratch. We're going to weld all the brackets, the tubular framing. We'll do most of it ourselves. Engine will be done by Rob Beer. Probably the driveline will be done by Billy Bellinger, driveline engineering, good friend of mine. Does all my racing men gearboxes now. Him and his father, like a little father-run team, like gurus. They just know their parts. But most of it we'll do ourselves. Most of it we'll try and do ourselves again.
Great. Sounds good.
I guess for your father's bit of an emotional return to that car as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was for me. It was Dad's a bit like, oh, you paid too much for it. He's a bit, we sold it.
How much you pay? £500.
Yeah. We paid too much for the car. We sold it for nothing. Blah 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 blah. He says it in his way. I know he's glad to have the car back. I mean, in his own way, I know he is, really is. Like, but I got really emotional picking the car. I mean, because I've been trying to find this car for these 30 years because it just disappeared off the face of the earth. I mean, I keep putting posts out there. So, please, if anybody, the picture of the car, if anybody sees it or know about it or whereabouts, please get in contact.
Yeah.
And it was only by chance, because it basically disappeared. It was sat in a warehouse, just doing nothing. And it was only by chance a friend of mine, he was looking at an E-Type for customer for sale. And he'd seen the front wing in the background in the corner, like sticking out behind a shed, like, behind a bit of tarpaulin on up. And he'd seen the colours of the wing. So he knew what the car was. And we sort of messaged them and they, we still got the car. We got the car, and we kind of had a look at it. And they wanted too much money for it. So I went and looked at it. I was quite upset because it really hurt me because I really thought I was going to try and get it. And I was trying to raise the money, trying to find a way of getting the money to get the car. And the goal was just too high. So I walked away at the time and said, look, that's too much. It wasn't meant to be. And then probably 8-9 months later, he sells it to one of his mechanics who was going to build it. And then I bumped into him 4 weeks ago, the last race meeting at Silverstone. He was a young kid. I chatted to him. I said, you got my father's car? And he said, yeah, I've got it. And he accumulated some parts and some bits with the car. And I said, you interested in selling it? And he said, yeah, I actually am. I want to buy a house. So I could do with the deposit. I was like, so I was a bit like, oh my God, okay. We can be able to do a deal here. Like, so, and it was in Dover, it was. It's a long old drive for me to go. And I didn't want to turn up. I wanted to go up there with a trailer because I was coming home with this car. This is like, if he's buying a house, he wants money. At some way, I'm going to either steal it off him, okay, but I'm going to try and come home with this car. So I said, so I take the trailer? No, I can't take the trailer because if I turn up with the trailer, I'm going to look too keen and then you got to try and play this like game. And so I said, oh, balls. I just drove up there with my son and I really got emotional, really emotional. And then we've done the deal. All I kept thinking, oh my God. Because it was a 1,200-mile round trip over 2 days, like go back there and forth. So I was there at 9 o'clock in the morning, the next morning. So I was afraid he was going to change his mind. Even though he got paid, I was afraid he was going to back out of it because I could see the value in this car and the history and the build. I could vision what this could do for me and the family and the racing from us. Like, I mean, so I knew potentially what it could do. Like, I mean, so I was so passionate about getting the car back. And again, I was in tears, literally in tears, because it was one of those. And I get a bit emotional thinking about it now because it's just, because it's one of those cars we wish we never sold. Like, I mean, like you said, you've seen pictures of the car. It just looks.
Oh, it's wild.
It is wild. Yeah, wild. Yeah, it is. I know Hot Wheels will do it. Scale Electrical will do it. I know it'll be in every magazine. Jaguar will have it on display in the factory, in JLR, in Coventry. It'll just be everywhere. It'll be everywhere.
I can imagine you didn't get much sleep, Grant, on that evening in between picking up and.
No, I didn't, because I was panicking. I was literally panicking that he's going to change his mind. You mean because even though he got paid, it was done. The receipt was just wrote on a piece of paper that I had written in the car because I didn't think anything like that. So he just wrote something out quickly, signed it. But I just thought, he's going to send the money back. He's going to say, no, I don't want to do it. And in fairness, he did say, look, I'm not going to do it justice. He was going to try and run it with bits and pieces and stuff like that. And it wasn't, don't get me wrong, I haven't really got the money to build it now, but I'll find the money to build it because it's got to happen. And I'm so passionate about it. And the plan is to spend 3 days down Andrews building it, 2 days in my garage. He's in about 30 minutes. He's in Cardiff. I'm up in the Valleys a bit. And sort of go down there to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sort of try and run my garage in between. Like,
I suppose a project of this nature being so sort of, something that people want to watch, it could and should open doors in terms of like collaborating with potential suppliers and whoever,
suppliers. And hoping the YouTube channel will start funding it and stuff like that. And I'm very passionate and I'm good at talking to people. When I go to Goodwood Revival, I'm one of the only drivers who I'll spend all day, every day at the car. Because people just want to come and thank me most of the time, just say thank you for all the years of entertainment you've given me. Like, and I'm always thanking them because without them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And I'm sort of a crowd favorite, the underdog, because we do it on a shoestring, on the thread of a shoestring. And all right, I'm very lucky. I'm so privileged to do what I do, but I've worked hard to do it. And, I've podiumed at Revival almost every single Revival I've entered. Literally in 17, 18 Revivals, I've podiumed 16 times.
Wow.
So I've got on that from, 9th and 10th on the grid or back of the grid, and I've won it 6 times outright.
From a logistical point of view, and you don't have to answer this, and it might be something we kind of agree not to put out. Is the Revival a guest list only? Do you have to pay to be there? Do you get paid to be there?
It's invite only. Invite only. You either gotta have a car with history or prominence. You know, the first race my car ever did in 1959 was at Revival as a factory run car.
Okay.
So then the buy one was a factory run car. He ran at Goodwood, and it was under John Coombs, under the Coombs name, and Salvador, he was the driver. And then Grandad bought it in 62 off the factory. So then Dad done the first ever Revival in 1998.
Nice.
Loved it. He said, "Do you want to come do it, son?" Because he'd never heard about it. He just had the invite to the first one because the car was had problems with it. And he got the third and he finished fourth overall.
Yeah.
And I remember telling me, he said, "Do you want to go do it?" I was like, "Nah, Dad, I was young. I just won the championship. You know, I was out partying with my mates and all that, clubbing and stuff like that. I wasn't that bothered." And then he rings me up from a payphone, like, "Son, this is like nothing we've ever done before. Like, I mean, this thing's massive, this event. They're giving us free racing fuel, for God's sake." So, and he said, "Look, if you do it, you'll walk it. You'll." So then I done the 99 race. But yeah, I get there because I put bums on seats.
Yeah.
Because I'm a crowd favorite. I'm always driving the car sideways.
Yeah.
And I'm so passionate about it. Like, I mean, but I am racing against open checkbook racing. That's the problem now. These events, you know, I'm up against multi-millionaires. I mean,
I see Jensen Button's just bought an E-Type, hasn't he, specifically to win the TT, for example.
Yeah. And they will throw, you know, 200-300 grand at in my race this year. The two Jags I was up against, again, I used to be up against owner drivers. So the celebrity race was on Saturday, and then the owner drivers was on Sunday. And even though my name is just as big there as the celebrities are, I still can't get into the Saturday race because I'm the owner driver. Even though I'm the owner, Dan's the owner, I'm the driver.
Yeah.
But my race is now turned into, you know, I got a ex-Le Mans winning, you know, Chris Ward driving, you know, won every BRDC member driving one Mark 1. And then I got a young touring car driver in the other Mark 1 in my race. Like, I mean, and so it's turned out to be like my race is against professional racing drivers. I mean, I'm still technically a clubman race, even though I am a professional because I've been racing so long. But, you know, I am so fast in the wet. You know, I started 9th in the grid. They'd started P1 and P3. So it was a rolling start. And I remember I was behind a Mother Mark 1 and he was a Formula E driver.
Okay.
Good driver. But it was a rolling start. I was 9th back on the grid, and we came around. I remember coming on the chicane, and he wasn't keeping up with the pack. So as I came to the chicane, all the front runners were already gone. The first 7 and 8 car had gone over the line already. And I'm just going through the chicane. I'm thinking, come on, for God. And I couldn't even, I had such a great run out of the chicane. I had to lift and coast over the line because I couldn't pass until I got over the line. And then I remember going, right, okay, get your head down. I was 5 seconds a lap faster than anybody on the track.
Wow.
A lap. So by the second lap, I'd got myself back to 3rd. But then at that point, 3rd, 4th lap, they'd sort of realized the conditions, but I'd worked the conditions out as soon as I got in the car. I knew what the grip was. So then I sort of got neutralized then. But if I just started on the front row, I had a better quality. I had a problem. It was overheating problem with the car. If I started on the front row, 2nd or 3rd, I'd have gone. I'd have left them.
Yeah.
I would have pulled a probably 20, 30-second gap, and they wouldn't have caught me.
No.
So I would have gone off the distance and I would have won the race outright. But, you know, I still finished 3rd overall from where I came, was 9th, which was great. It was sort of my first time back for Revival, which was amazing. Like, I mean, so, and those are the meetings that really, and if you look at my Instagram, I done a sort of a reel of the whole weekend and the music. I visualized myself in on that one. So before I even got there, I would say, I'm going to get on this podium. I'm going to get on this podium. So I visualized the whole thing. That whole weekend, I visualized the music, just everything about it, and the emotions. And, you know,
we've done it a few times. I've been doing Revival for quite a while. You've done a couple, haven't you, John?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's certainly a favourite with us. Just the whole atmosphere and
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It really is.
It is. It's a massive, massive part of my life.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to hear the stories. Obviously hear a bit of the family history, and the fact that you've got the car back again is just it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you giving us some time. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me on. I love it. You know, if I could spread the name and spread the family, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
Very, very kind of you. Yeah, thank you very much, Grant.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll leave you to your weekend, and
I'm off to the Platinum Sport Car Awards now. Literally, I got to drive to London now.
Fantastic. Well, go well.
Thank you.
Cheers, Grant. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Cheerio. Bye. What a nice guy. Cool stories.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, that'd be one to watch the rebuild. certainly.
Yeah, definitely. I sent you the link, didn't I? Which
Got that.
it reminds me a bit of the Ford Transit Supervan.
Right.
You know, like the whole thing that it's just.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's got that sort of silhouette of something you're very familiar with, but underneath is like just a complete monster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I suppose really when you look at it, I mean the grille and the lights are the giveaway, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you're hearing that story, certainly keen to see it how it develops really.
Absolutely, yeah. For anyone kind of listening, Grant Williams Racing is the account to follow on Instagram. Sounds fantastic. He's going to document that for YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, what looks like, I guess it's Morse on steroids, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's really good. And yeah, just some lovely tales. That was one of those interviews we didn't really have to try. Like, it just flowed, didn't it? And then when you kind of, just when one story came to an end, you kind of then ended up in a Range Rover 3-door.
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be. It was kind of...
You can imagine, Grant said, didn't he, that he sort of stands by the car at the revival and just chats to everyone. You can imagine that would be very easy for him just to talk all day about racing and the legacy of his family and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, really good.
Yeah, I guess it means a lot to him, doesn't it? Like, he was getting emotional, obviously talking about getting that car back. But it's in him. He's kind of been brought up around it. Obviously, he's sort of taught himself to drive.
Yeah.
His kind of dad gave him the opportunity to kind of have a go in the family car, and it turns out he's pretty good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the positives of social media, that one, isn't it? That you can seemingly locate things that you might think have gone.
Yeah. I think also you can locate people, like the fact that, we ended up speaking to Grant because of a friend of mine, Dom, who kind of said, oh, you should speak to this person. But it sort of connects everyone together, doesn't it, quite easily. And if you find someone who you don't know, but obviously if we're talking about a subject which is very much kind of poignant to them, in this case, obviously, their dad's car, then certainly you can be having kind of a chat with someone you've never met before and very quickly kind of get on and sort of understand each other because of it. So big thanks to Grant for coming on. Really enjoyed that.
Really good.
So thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
And we'll wrap it up and roll the credits.
Thank you for listening to My Dad's Car. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please support us. Buy us a coffee and subscribe. And tell all your friends.